Good evening, everybody, from Massimo Banzi and
Benedetta. No!
I did it! After only 10 episodes, I figured out how to point at Benedetta. Amazing.
I still haven't.
So welcome to Bar Arduino. As usual, we bring some amazing guests and we do very interesting projects with Arduino. But not only that, so tonight we have a guest. Serena is going to talk about a project that she's working on that has to do with education for teaching electronics to girls. And then we have Luca Cipriani, who is in charge of the cloud development in Arduino, to present a project, a demo of the features of the IoT Cloud. So it's really cool. And then we have a special guest who does these crazy videos, and he's built this pick and place machine that I've been following online too. So I'm very happy. And yeah, so Benedetta, you want to remind people also about the other show that we do?
Yeah, there's also, especially, fitting with today's first guest about education, right? The Arduino EduVision show, which is on Thursdays, correct? At 4 p.m. Oh, wait, what time is it in Europe? Sorry, my time schedule is off. 4 p.m. European time on Thursdays, right? Oh, I can't hear you. I think we lost your audio.
Somebody's asking what kind of language Arduino IDE use. Boom, that's a very kind of beginner question. Dear Atta, it's C++, but it is masked in a way that it's not scary. It's a non-scary version of C++, which is the Arduino programming language, and the IDE is written in Java. Wow, we also have a guest who says he's 12-year-old and programs with Arduino.
Amazing. Wow. Love it.
Yeah, are you teaching Arduino to your kids, Benny?
Yes, I am. I mean, they're a little young for that, but they've been exposed to it, and we have some summer projects that we want to work on. We're going to do some music. We were actually talking about that last week, you and I, but yes, we're going to do some Star Wars theme songs out of Arduino, and then we're going to play with conductive paint.
Super cool, super nice. All right, so when we have the next season, we want to see these projects. So basically, yes, I wanted to say to everybody that the first season of Bar Arduino will be over at some point in the beginning of July. We'll tell you the exact date because every show kind of takes a break during the summer. We need to go on holiday. Benedetta, you're going on holiday in your own back garden.
Yes, I'll be preparing my classes for the fall. That's my break. That's my summer. Making online content.
In Europe, we can travel. As of Monday, we can travel from different countries in Europe.
Lucky.
Yeah, probably going to go to the seaside. Sorry, Ben.
People don't even like us to go to other states, especially from New York. We're not welcome anywhere right now.
All right, so why don't we introduce the first guest, who is in representation of actually another person who is in the comments, in the chat, but not in the streaming. Serena Cangiano.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi, Benedetta and Massimo.
Ciao, Serena. Welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, and also
without slides?
No, you can prepare the slides, and we can.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Serena Cangiano. I'm actually researcher and coordinator of an interaction design program in Lugano, in the southern part of Switzerland, the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. And I do many projects. I know Arduino since many years. And recently I've been involved, or I started together with my student that is also now actually the director of this new project that is actually trying to create a new layer of a new narrative in tech education world. This is using Arduino, and that's the project. It's called Ethafa, and I'm going to talk about this in a presentation. And that's it. Shall I start?
Yeah, the co-creator of Ethafa is in the chat. So
yeah, it's Laila. Hi, Laila.
Hi, Laila. Welcome.
Okay. So I don't know. Shall I share my screen? But I don't see any more.
And then I will bring the screen to the streaming.
Okay, but you will start the sharing because I don't see the.
No, you have a button called Share Screen at the bottom of the screen in the toolbar.
Did it disappear?
What do you mean you don't have it?
I don't have it.
No, we tried it before, but I don't know where.
Yeah, it disappeared.
Okay. You want to reload?
Yes. Give me a sec.
Yeah. Okay. We'll remove it. It's very interesting that the interface disappeared after happens. So Serena is back. Okay.
Cool.
Do you have a button?
No button.
No.
But
so if I send, no, I don't see. There is no button. Sorry, just disappeared.
You have a toolbar at the bottom that says mic, stop, cam, share screen. No. Interesting. So why don't we do this? Do your own thing, and maybe we'll start with the second guest.
I also feel like I need to make the usual reminder to people that are not watching this live. Yes. Or even if you are watching it live, to use the comments to send us feedback or ask questions to the guests that we have, or questions about the demos that we'll be showing. And if you're not watching this in real time, then please use the comments to ask questions and put in suggestions for things that you might want to see, especially since now we're, we might be coming down to our final episodes. If people want to see something specific, feel free to suggest.
So we have Serena and the slides.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Which it sounds like the name of a band, Serena and the Slides.
Okay, sorry. Okay, again, sorry for the delay. I just found the functionality was just down there. Okay, so some information about me. I'm a researcher, but it's a bit strange because in Switzerland you have this applied university, applied sciences and arts, and in this university, you have a lot of labs. And starting from 2012, I was a bit lucky because I got the chance to set up a lab, a prototyping space, because actually what I like is to be surrounded by people that make stuff. So this is my lab. It's a fabrication laboratory, and these pictures tells a lot about me because I'm always around, just supporting people, not all the time on the technical side of the project, but I try to design spaces where people actually are happy to deliver, ideate new interactive projects. So I think it was very cool when I had to think about my project with Arduino, and I felt a bit like old, but it's, I just found a picture this afternoon in my repository that was actually a prototype that I made in 2010 together with other two people during an Arduino workshop held by Massimo in a lovely place here in nearby Lugano. And it was kind of the first encounter with Arduino and motors, because I really like kinetic projects, so stuff that moves where there are a lot of motors moving stuff around. And in 2015, I got the chance to actually really focus on projects that were using motors because together with a colleague of mine, Davide Fornari and Giovanni Anceschi, artists, professors, and designer, we did together a kind of reinterpretation of a kinetic artwork from the 60s within the project called Reprogrammed Art. And I was the maker in the team, and I had to figure out how to create these suspended cubes with 6 different motors on each side, with these rotating sticks, creating virtual cones. That was actually the artistic name of this kind of movement created by in the project. And in that moment, I realized it was really cool to work with the Arduino, because I could stack a lot of shields one on the top of each other. And I think it's the best thing when you are a beginner, because I could easily connect a lot of motors and don't even think about batteries and stuff or the complication, because it was very easy to stack shields. And so then I thought, okay, but that was kind of an experiment. But then it was really, I just wanted to say that I started with Arduino in a very strange way, because when I moved to Switzerland, I got in contact with a very nice community called Swiss Mechatronic Art Society. And in this villa, you can see in this very historical picture, there was a school, architectural school, the SciArc. And then this villa became a place where actually people were organizing workshops. And I spent 1 week together with 20 nerds. And I had my first Arduino workshop. The professor was a mathematician, and I really, and it was very nice on one side. On the other side, I really didn't learn about how to use Arduino, because the guy was actually teaching a lot of things in a very crazy way. So since I was a bit upset from this, no, I was not upset. It was really cool. But then I started, of course, thanks also with the collaboration with Massimo, I started organizing a lot of Arduino workshop also in my school. And then I became an expert of the first, the first day of an Arduino workshop. I know really well how it works. Just for the first part of the workshop is very clear to me. So for I would say 10 years, it's actually my career, I decided to invest in designing a workshop together with creative technologists and trying to, let's say, reduce the complexity in learning whatever kind of technology, not just Arduino. And then I also teach in the master program in interaction design at SUPSI. And from time to time, I use as a main topic the tech education and teaching kids how to learn technology. And then I got in contact with the co-founder of the Ethafa project, Laila Tawfiq, that is actually 25 years old girl, half Egyptian, half Italian. And she started designing under my supervision a very nice project that is actually a kit of five different characters. And these characters are actually made of simple components, LEDs, cables, simple sensors and actuators. And she created a very nice, she thought about a very nice approach for teaching the basics of electronics, especially to kids from 10, 12 years old, but also having a focus on what girls would like to use for learning these kind of technologies. So she started thinking about, okay, in Egypt there is a problem with the gender gap. So she started thinking about the condition of women in technology, and she ended up with the idea of having these 5 characters and using stories to teaching how an LED works and how to move motors, the typical basic concept of electronics. So what I in this project is very interesting. What I wanted to share also that it's about Arduino and creating contents around Arduino. That I think it's also something that we like from the Arduino project. The fact that it's not only a platform for creating projects, but also for inventing new approaches and new methods, because it's very simple and it's very used for beginners. And so now it's not only about, for us in that moment, was not only about creating a kit of simple components, but we also thought, okay, let's use stories. And so now we are in this phase where we are creating interactive stories that are accessible via a digital app, tablet application. And in the whole process, we are trying to connect this simple box with an Arduino Nano IoT 33 to stories that kids can use to learn concepts like LEDs and connections, but also how to help these STEMians, that are the 5 characters, to understand how actually the planet Earth works. Again, I want to say that it's very interesting for us to keep this kit very simple. We are not actually thinking about using Arduino only as a prototyping tool, but we want to have it at the core of the product. So the kit will be always, let's say, a bunch of components together with an Arduino, but together with the collaboration with teachers. And then by organizing workshop, we want to create content around our products. That it means that we understood what are the ingredients of the Arduino philosophy. That is actually, we can still use this tool to spread the basics, the simple approaches to electronics education, but at the same time we wanted to move the focus on contents, and we don't need to develop super advanced IoT toys, because it's not actually our goal. And we like the fact that actually Arduino can help us in doing that as a tool that can be embedded in a product without actually creating any kind of need for further developments. So if you want to know more about the project, we have a website that is www.ethafa.com, and we are also, let's say, open to actually suggestion as a new project. We are really keen to test it. And also, of course, it would be, I would love to have more time to share what is the design approach, because we are designers, and the whole project is also about how to integrate the user experience in tech education projects. And thank you for the attention. I think I'm done.
Wow,
Super
nice.
cool.
Leave that slide on for a second so that people can copy the URL. So there were some nice comments. Actually, somebody is asking an interesting question. It's a bit more generic. I have 2 daughters. I'm curious, how should I create engaging STEM experiences for them?
That's a good question. So the point is, of course, to understand how they would like to communicate, for example. So according to a lot of research projects, girls are more into, let's say, trying to develop, they have skills that are more, I don't want to say empathic. Every time to explain these concepts is very complicated, because it sounds all the time it sounds like girls, they want to talk. This is not the reality, but it's actually more about how to create a kind of relational layer around things, because girls normally, according to the studies, they don't want to achieve the goal immediately. When they have a challenge, they want to share and collaborate more with the people they have around. So it's more about creating this kind of layer around whatever kind of tool you can give to them. So even if it's a robot or like super, very, I don't know, violent, let's say toy, I don't know, something that is super male oriented, you can still ask them how they would like to use and how they would like to use this tool for communicating a concept. That would be very helpful.
What is I have a question. Where does the name come from? I'm always curious about the naming of projects.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for asking, because probably this technical issue at the beginning just keep some of the information I want to share. Ethafa is actually comes from Arabic, is the actually translation of the acronymous STEAM in Arabic. So it's basically the acronymous STEAM in that language, because our project tries also to address. It's not about just the market that we are interested in, but it's more about, can we create more cultural inclusion around tools for teaching technology that is, of course, is always kind of American oriented most of the time. So we want to use also stories that are related to Arabic culture. This is because Laila, she's half Egyptian, and using also, this is our, let's say, main point, and then that's why the project is called Ethafa.
Very cool.
Just to add a little bit to the answer you gave before about engaging girls into STEM, we have this show that I was mentioning called EduVision that people can find on YouTube. It's all the episodes are archived on YouTube, where basically the presenters are three young women who work for Arduino, and they talk about, so the show is mostly for educators. So if you want to kind of learn about how to teach Arduino, how to engage kids with Arduino, they provide a lot of very interesting ideas and content, and also they have guests that come. So that's a good, interesting thing to follow. Sorry, I just wanted to add to the previous question. It's interesting. So, Serena, did you get any? So, what was? So, I will. How's the feedback? You know, how people are. Did you get some interest from people? Are you showing it?
Yeah. Thanks again for the question. It's interesting because it's the project is. I mean, we have already product and we are using it. It's actually this slide maybe is more clear. And we are, organizing workshop with kids, and the kids, they love it because it's, it's about not just, the goal is for them is not just, okay, I have to learn how to blink an LED. It's more, I have to blink, I have to make this character alive, and then I can play with it. So they just love it. They look forward for completing the step-by-step process, because then they can do activities and they see something meaningful because they can use it for their exploration games or something like that. It's now at the moment it's very open the way they can play with it. And so we see them really happy during our workshops. And then we are also organizing trainings with teachers. The next one will be in Bahrain in collaboration with the Fab Lab Bahrain. And they are happy because, and they are happy. All the teachers, they are very happy because they are already using the storytelling approach in their didactic activities. So they see the point when they think, okay, I can use the Ethafa because I can use it. I can use one of the characters for teaching kids something related to science in their specific country, and they create a story. And we are not telling them, okay, this is the story. Actually, we are co-creating stories with them. And so, for example, the last workshop was in Egypt at the Fab conference, and we had people from Sudan, from France, and we had, so many interesting stories built by teachers for other teachers and for the kids. And that was really, I think we are very happy about this kind of feedback, because people, they want to contribute. That is actually, even in the Arduino philosophy, we like this approach of co-creation and opening contents around our projects.
Very nice. I've been following this project for a bit, so I think it's very interesting, and I think a lot of people need to know about this. And yeah, so there was some good feedback from the audience. I would say, let's if there are no other quick questions now, we can then kind of move on to the next guest. But if you can stick around a little bit, at the end we can kind of,
Yeah, of course, I'm
we
here.
have more questions. And but yeah, so what is the next step in this project?
Yeah.
What are the things you're working on now?
Yeah, that's cool. We are actually working on something very specific, that is the circuit making experience. So we are collaborating with Mint and Pepper, that is an organization based in Zurich. So we have friends everywhere. We like to work with other people, and we are developing a custom PCB that it's actually facilitating, making, let's say, the experience of making the circuit like more nicer, because everyone knows, I'm sure that in the audience, everyone knows how painful it is to use like a cheap breadboard. So we are actually designing, as a designer, we wanted to work on that kind of experience and make it less painful. And then we are working on, of course, on creating contents and stories, and especially the application, because the project actually is supported by a foundation here in Switzerland. And thanks to this support, we can develop the new tablet application with the stories. And actually, Laila, almost alone, there is no like fund. I mean, we are not supported by a venture capitalist. We are not hiring 25 people. There is Laila that is able to manage the whole design process, and it's now in the process of wireframing and creating the user journey, all this work to make the digital experience of the project actually more effective.
Nice. All right, so thank you for your presentation. And as I said, I love the project, and so stick around a little bit longer if you can, because there will be some questions at the end. But for now, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, no, I love this project.
I know. I wanna play with it. I wanna see it with all the things STEM. I wanna try them all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also, I think that it's interesting, this approach to try to focus on girls in sort of Arabic-speaking countries, because they're not kind of very represented. Yeah. And so in Arduino, we really love this idea of inclusivity. So trying to go and talk to these communities that are less represented, it's very important. It's very important. Yeah, the co-creator says she does a lot of wireframing lately. So let me just, yeah. So let me bring in the next guest. So one little thing first is that, as usual, we have a discount code.
Yep.
And the discount code this week is Somerville.
My alma mater.
Oh yeah, you studied there, right?
Yeah, I went to undergrad.
Boston University?
Nope.
No, which one?
Tufts University.
Tufts.
And the School of Museum of Fine Arts, which is now Tufts, but at the time it was a separate art school. Now they're the art department of Tufts. So.
Look at that. We have an artist here, and we didn't realize.
An ex-artist.
Former artist.
Former artist, yeah. Failed artist.
You need to make a t-shirt that says ex-artist.
Yep.
At some point, I remember years ago, in London, people started to make this t-shirt that says ex-designer, because, Well, anyway, so the code is Somerville because one of the guests has a connection with this town. And then let's bring in Luca.
Hello.
Good evening, Luca.
Good evening.
So Luca Cipriani is in charge of all the cloud development in Arduino. And so we're very happy to have him here. And so tell us a little bit about the demo we're gonna see tonight.
Yeah, the idea is to show that IoT is finally simple in 2020. A lot of things are coming simple for everyone. So I'm gonna show you how to create a super simple, but extremely fast, especially demo for creating your garden by using an NKR 1010 and an environment shield. But the whole idea is, IoT is no more complex. So you are gonna figure it out. Even just registering the video, it took a couple of minutes for me.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go look for the video, and we're gonna start watching this. I kind of banned the live demos from this show because it's very tricky. So I'm asking everybody to make a video.
Good choice.
Let's watch.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to set up a new IoT device, but also to create an entire new IoT project. So let's go to Arduino create.cc/IoT, and now you are going to have this new view. We just changed and we are continuously improving. Now you can create a new thing, okay? Now let's assume, as I'm doing, and I have an NKR 1010 board. Is attached physically with my PC. Yeah, a USB cable, and I just click set up a new Arduino device. And the magic is that the system is automatically configuring it. That's very handy because it's also now configuring a cryptographic chip in it. And it immediately understands that this is exactly an NKR Wi-Fi 1010, which is correct. So I'm gonna click configure and also going to give it a randomic name. Okay, this is kind of nice. Let's name it Clovis. Just click next. This is gonna be my board. And in a couple of seconds, it's configuring this secure element in it. We are all set. I click done. That's pretty much it. Very neat. I will go ahead and then I can name my board and also my IoT project. So let's name it Arduino Bar. Okay, 2020. I can create a new IoT project. And finally, I can add some properties. So let's imagine we want to have a garden in our system and want to send some data and also receive some sensors data. So this is why we do have the Arduino shield. So we can unplug the board, plug the shield on top of it. Okay, and now I'm gonna plug again the board by using the micro USB cable. Okay, so this system does have, the M shield does have a temperature sensor. So it's gonna be of type temperature. It's a temperature sensor, then there is a good range of value. And also I want to send the data if it changes for at least 1 degree, okay? And also save those data. Then I know there is a humidity sensor. I'm gonna check for it, which is a percentage, so from 0 to 100. Then I can set it as read-only because it's a sensor. I want to send it every time the value changes, okay? And then I also want to save this, and then, okay, let's send this every, 5 seconds. But I also have the luminance. There is another sensor over there. And then let's type luminance is measured in lux. It can be from 0 to 1000, let's say. It can be read-only, and I want to send the value every time they change. Okay, you can check the tooltip here. Delta equal to 0 means that the Arduino IoT Cloud will update the property whenever there is a change, which is interesting. So we click again, show history visualization, we add the property. Okay, we are done. So let's keep it simple, humidity, luminance, and temperature. Then you are gonna click edit sketch. And the nice thing is we are gonna automatically generate the main code for you. So this is the code that we have. You can see we have basically fill in here with our own properties. So what are our own properties? I say humidity, temperature, and illuminance. Indeed, those are also variables defined automatically by this file, thingsproperties.h. So let's use them directly in our sketch. It's gonna be humidity equal something, okay? But then we have to read those values from the sensor. So how to do that? Obviously, to save a bit of time, I already did that on another sketch. So I'm just gonna copy and paste the code. But more or less it is like this. So it's humidity, read humidity, then add a super small delay, and illuminance, read the illuminance, and the same for the temperature. So let's put this code here. And here we are. Obviously, we have to initialize the M shield, but also we have to load the correct library. So let's go to libraries. And then look for the M shield library. Let me check for M shield library. Okay, maker have, I will click include. Okay, it automatically includes the correct name of the library with the latest version. This is very handy. And now I think I have to initialize the sensors as well. So probably here in the setup, I have to add the initialization of the sensor. So it's gonna be, here we are. Yeah. So let's do this, initialize the sensor in my sketch. I can do that here and then connect to the cloud. Okay, I think we are really good to go. And then we're gonna click open the monitor to see what's gonna happen. And then upload. Oh, I have to have my Wi-Fi credential. Nice catch. System automatically verified that I forgot about them. Okay, so I'm gonna put those device credentials here, and then yes, I can just upload and save. Nice. Let's see what's going on. It'll take a bit, so in the meantime we can probably read a bit more about thinkproperties.h. So we have an illuminance property which is read-only, so it's basically a sensor, and it's gonna be sent every time it changes. Quite often the illuminance sensor is really powerful. And then we are gonna send the humidity every 5 seconds and the temperature every time it changes for at least 1 degree, which is kind of nice. Okay, I think, yeah, the system was able to upload everything. I'm also connected to the IoT Cloud. Cool, it worked. So I'm just gonna click now in a new tab, go to IoT Cloud. Okay, we are here. Now we can finally create a new dashboard. Just click over there and we can create a completely new dashboard from scratch. We remove the old ones. Let's click delete. We have bulk action. This is another news. So let's create a new dashboard and name it Bar Arduino Garden. Ooh, nice. Then let's add some widget. A good one would be just read the temperature, which is something super simple to do. So we can have this Arduino bar thing. Click on temperature, link properties, and boom, we are reading the values. Then we can also add percentage. Yes, I think a percentage for the humidity will be perfect. So Arduino bar, yeah, the only percentage type is this one. I'm gonna link this. Boom, we have the humidity. I remember I had the illuminance. So the illuminance can be a nice gauge. And then let's do this. Okay, so a gauge for the illuminance. Arduino bar, illuminance, link property from 0 to 1000, let's say. Here is the illuminance, but I also want a graph of the illuminance. Yeah, here we go. Let's link it again. Illuminance, link property. Okay, here we go. The data are coming. As you can see, there is the illuminance. And if I put it in front of the light is gonna change a bit. No, I should, yeah. Just put it in front of the screen. Obviously, my screen is much brighter than just covering it with a hand. And for humidity, we send it every 5 seconds. So let me do this. Humidity should be, yeah, it goes higher. While for the temperature, it takes a bit also because we say to send the temperature every time it changes at least by 1 degree. So I can put my finger on top of it. And then for the illuminance, we are gonna also have live data, okay? It's changing quite fast, which is nice. Yeah, you can see live values. And I can cover it and it should go, yeah, pretty much to 0. This is really nice. Okay, I think we are done for today, and thank you everyone. Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. Nice.
As I promised, 10 minutes. And it
10
works.
minutes exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's important because this, in my opinion, this level of productivity is not very common. And so it's quite fast.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, is there something you can talk about what you're working on right now that is not super secret?
Yes, this time I can say we are going to release mobile application for this dashboard. So you can create your own dashboard and control your IoT devices on the way, wherever you are. If you have your mobile phone, it's going to work. And our internet connection, obviously, is IoT for a reason.
Wow. Oh, that's super nice. Super nice. Cool. So these presentations that now are done sort of as inside the show will be kind of taken out and also uploaded as a separate video. Also, some of the code is already referenced in the video that you showed.
Yeah.
So we can, so people can try it like that. But so if there are specific questions for Luca, remember that you can ask now, but you can also leave it in the comment in the YouTube video if you look for the sort of a recording, and then we will ask Luca to answer those questions when they come out. Stay with us for a second because we have another little thing. So first of all, we have to remind everybody that the code is Somerville. So you can use this to get a little discount on the online store for Arduino. We also have this new thing that we started called the Arduino Bytes, where you're like 1 minute things about Arduino that people don't know about. And actually, a number of things that have been discussed in this Bytes I didn't know. So let's watch this together before we get to the next guest.
Did you know that you can use webhooks to expand the possibilities of your IT projects? By adding your sketch to the IoT Cloud and adding webhooks, you can trigger events in other services. For example, you can send emails when a sensor that is connected to your Arduino board gets activated. For these kinds of projects, you can use Arduino Maker 1000, Arduino Maker 1010, Arduino GSM 1400, Arduino Narrowband 1500, or Arduino 33 IoT.
Huh.
You can send messages with a sensor.
Actually, this is a quite nice feature. For example, at some point we published this very simple JavaScript code. So you can get any Google spreadsheet, you can paste this code in there, and then it becomes essentially an online sort of service that can receive webhooks. And then you can send webhooks directly to Google Drive, you will see the numbers show up in the spreadsheet. And it was just one JavaScript file. So these webhooks are quite powerful.
And let me add something new. We are going to release within this month the new JavaScript client. So you can create your own custom interface, if you like, on top of our API. So if you are a developer, I think you are going to like it. But every Arduino user is basically a developer. So
basically, this means that if I have a web page, if I create my own web page, if I use that new version of the JavaScript code, I can talk from the web page directly to the...
Exactly. So you can embed your own widget custom thing and that are speaking with your own physical device. And you can also send data back. So you can create your website that is really interactive with the physical world, not just the digital one.
Nice. Yeah, so there are comments in the chat saying, congrats, Luca, full IoT dashboard in 10 minutes is amazing, which is true, that also without writing that much code, because most of the code is kind of prepared for you by the IoT.
No, indeed. It took months to make it feel like it's just a few minutes.
Yeah.
It took almost probably a year or so.
No, it was years of work, but no, I'm glad this is finally getting to the point where all these things are becoming really useful. The API are great, and so yeah. So in the description of this video, you will find links to all the code and the examples that Luca was showing. So Luca, thank you very much for coming on the show and showing this. It's always, you have some fans that are saying hi to you in the chat. And so for now, we're going to thank you, and we're going to ask you to wait a little bit in the waiting room while we bring in the next guest. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'll see you later. Right, so the next guest is the reason why the code is called Somerville.
Let's find out.
Do you know what the next guest works on?
Yes, my dream project, actually.
Whoa, let's bring it online then. Steven, hey, welcome.
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, wow, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So apparently, Benedetta, since this is your dream project, why don't you ask a little bit to Steven what he's working on?
Yes. Do you want to introduce us to your project?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'm just going to toss my my screen up here real quick.
Cool.
And we'll dive on in.
Boom.
Cool. Yeah. So my name is Stephen Hawes. I grew up on the East Coast of the US, and I'm an engineer, but I currently live in Somerville, thus the code for today. And at first, just a little bit about me. This is me in 2014 at New York City Maker Faire with a wrist-mounted flamethrower that I built. And this was, I saw someone online that had made a wrist-mounted flamethrower. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. I absolutely need to make one of these things. And at first it was all mechanical. It was like levers and trying to figure out ways to depress a little nozzle on a gas canister to have fire come out of my hand, which is arguably safe and a little sketchy, but it worked out pretty well. And then I learned about Arduino, and then that kind of came in and very much shaped the way I went about building this thing. So yeah, Arduino has been a big part of me and my projects moving forward. But a few of my projects I've worked on in college, I worked on a project called the Atlas Arm. It's a really low cost, like $300 prosthetic hand that uses electromyography. And what that means is you put 3 stickers on your arm, and when you squeeze your muscle, it can actually detect how hard you're squeezing and then control the hand based on that. There's an Arduino Nano in that. In the upper right is a newer revision of the flamethrower, and that has an Arduino kind of baked into a custom circuit board that I designed, but also leaning really heavily on the IDE and the C++ library, like using all of that to get this thing to run. And then at the bottom is a Kickstarter I did last year called the Glow Tie. I actually have one here, and it's a light-up bow tie that puts out its own Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can connect it with your phone, and it actually hosts a web page that goes out to your phone, and you can use that website to change the colors and the patterns of the lights. Same thing, Arduino IDE for writing the firmware for this, for uploading the code, the whole thing. So I've pretty much ever since I got involved with Arduino, it's been a part of something. Every single thing I've built, it's had a part in it. But in terms of how I actually got started, when I started at university, my freshman year, one of the first classes I took was an introduction to programming class. And are you both familiar with MATLAB, the programming language?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a fan of MATLAB very much, but that was the language that we used in this introduction to programming class. It taught me a lot, and I'm really happy I took the class, but it was tricky. And the professor that we had us get an Arduino kit with the class. And we didn't really use it for much. Like, we would write some MATLAB code and it would send a single command over USB to the Arduino and it would make an LED turn on. And that was cool, but there's so much more that you can do with it than turn on an LED. So I kind of went out on my own and figured out what I could do with it for fun. And my dorm had a jack-o'-lantern carving competition. I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to dive in and try and use it for something. So I made the Cylon from Battlestar Galactica with the like red dot going back and forth. And after I made this, I was like, okay, I can give anything a brain now. I can give a pumpkin a brain if I want to. What else can I use this for? And then I started thinking about the flamethrower. And I took all my flamethrower parts out, everything in my Arduino kit, and I laid it out on the table. And I was like, okay, how am I going to make it control how much fire comes out? What sensors or buttons and, all of these different things? What state machines and logic am I going to need to put into this to make it control the flamethrower? And then it just all went from there, using it and integrating and all different kinds of stuff that I've made ever since then. So it's had a huge role in my life with how I make stuff. But today, the big project that I've been working on quite a bit recently is what I'm calling the Index Pick and Place. For those that don't know what a pick and place is, it essentially will assemble circuit boards for you. So when you order a circuit board from like a fab shop, like a house that makes them, it's just this flat panel. There's nothing on it. It's just like a flat panel of fiberglass with what's pretty much a whole bunch of wires running inside the board. But the parts aren't on there, and you need to put them on there somehow. When I did the glow tie Kickstarter, I had to manually put all of the parts onto the glow ties for all of them. It was like 2,500 components. I did all by hand. And after that, I was like, there's got to be a better solution. So what pick and place machines do is they have this tiny little nozzle with a little bit of suction in the nozzle. And they'll go over and they will go and grab a component with that suction. And then they place it exactly where it needs to go on the circuit board. So all the parts go right where they need to be. So they line up with all the pads. Super cool. But a lot of the ones that are out there are $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. Some are like up in the millions or something, which I definitely couldn't afford. And I also didn't want to hire a factory or get a contract manufacturer to make them for me. So I thought, okay, maybe I could just make one of these things myself. So that's what I've been doing for the past 6 or so months. The whole thing runs on an Arduino Mega. The whole machine is running on a Mega. The Mega thinks it's a 3D printer. I'm using a ramp shield. I've got one here on my Mega here, which is a awesome design for a shield that just plugs right into an Arduino Mega that has 5 stepper motor drivers built into it. And it's traditionally used for 3D printers, for controlling a bunch of 3D printers. It also has Marlin on it, which is firmware that's really good for controlling 3D printers as well. So I just had to change a couple of things in Marlin to convince it to be a pick and place instead of being a 3D printer. They're obviously very different things, but fundamentally it's just controlling a whole bunch of stepper motors in tandem. So it worked out pretty well. It was great knowing when I dove into this project that I kind of didn't have to worry about the controller very much. I knew I could buy an Arduino, I could get a ramp shield, I could get Marlin, and it was all open. So if I wanted to take it to the next step or modify something, I totally could do that. It was kind of like a solved problem in my head when I dove into it because I knew it was just going to be a good option for me. So yeah, it's been huge for this project. Absolutely. I see this really being useful for people like me who are doing projects like the glow tie, people who sell things on Tindy that have to manually assemble all of these things. To just have a little machine quietly working overnight making boards for you would be pretty cool. Also, I could probably see some small businesses maybe finding this useful. And I think it's also important to note this. The whole thing is open source. There's the link to the GitHub at the end. So if you want to go in and look at my designs and tell me what I messed up, please do. But then there's another part to this whole pick and place thing where when the nozzle comes over and picks up the parts, it needs to kind of have this constant stream of parts provided to it. So it has more to pick and place. And that's solved with what's called feeders. That's actually in the bottom left-hand corner over here, these 3 things. They take components that are on tape. I've actually got some here. These are some NeoPixels on component tape. So you can buy this whole spool with this plastic tape on it that actually has the chips inside of it. So the electronics industry decided on this standard years ago on how are we going to package these for pick and place machines. And the feeder will take this tape and very precisely move it forward, kind of offering up a new component for the nozzle. So I also designed a feeder that works with the Index. It uses the Arduino IDE. I wrote the firmware in that. I uploaded all using that, and it has an ATmega 328 on it. And what I absolutely love about this is when it came time to start prototyping this, I sat down on my bench and I had my Arduino Uno and my breadboard and all the sensors and motor drivers and stuff I needed to prototype it, and I got it to work. And then when it came time to make the circuit board, normally you have to make a few assumptions. You might have to do some different things when you're going from prototyping to a PCB. That totally wasn't the case here. The design is open. I knew I could put the schematic for an Uno or a Nano on this board, and it would be a direct connection to what I had on my bench. So that's one of the things I love so much about prototyping with Arduino is it doesn't have to stop at prototyping. I still use the Arduino IDE to program these things. You know, it carries all the way up from prototyping all the way to production of making a good number of these things. So yeah, it's just been so unbelievably helpful in the whole process of trying to develop this wacky machine. But yeah, for more information about the project, you can go to the GitHub page. It's sphaws/index. For everything that I'm doing about it, I push stuff pretty regularly on development, and then I also make videos every 2 weeks about the progress I'm making, and there's a link to that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been jamming on with Arduino.
Wow.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
So do you have did you have to develop, apart from like using modeling, did you have to develop like a software to drive this thing? So where you load basically the position of the parts and all that?
That's an awesome question. Yeah, there's a really excellent piece of open software called OpenPNP. And what you can do is import a file that pretty much every kind of piece of software that helps you design a circuit board, it'll spit out what's called a position file. And you just load that into OpenPNP, and it's ready to control pretty much any hobbyist and some professional pick and place machines. It'll happily drive them all. So I'm not doing any of the equivalent of a slicer. I'm not doing that myself. There's an existing thing out there for that kind of thing. But it's very complicated. Like, it has cameras in it and it does computer vision to make sure that the parts are in the right place and align them. Like, it's a very, very cool piece of software. So I'm using that. It's OpenPNP is the name of the software package.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So if somebody wants to build this thing, how much is it going to cost?
The BOM cost is about $450. I am pretty confident being able to get that much lower. This is, at quantity one, just me buying stuff of, the first thing I can find online to get the parts for it. I'm sure there's quite a bit of cost down. That is just the machine. I'm sure that feeders will be a little bit more than that. I think each feeder is like $30 some odd, but at quantity, it would come down a little bit. I'm happy with that for a start, and there's a whole bunch of people helping me develop this thing, bringing the cost down quite a bit. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it. The price point is big. That's one of the most important things, is that it's accessible. And if anyone wants to build one of these things, they can just decide to do it. Print all the parts, buy all the parts that you can't print, and put the whole thing together.
Yeah, no. One of the things that, when we started Arduino, we started to kind of build some of the stuff ourselves, and the first thing that we found was this used pick and place machine.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, because at the beginning it was like, kind of so the first Arduino Mini we put together with a pick and place. Then we put them in this toaster oven that we bought at the supermarket.
Yep.
Then we did the cooling using there was like a can of cookies. So the lid from this can was the cooling mechanism.
That's great.
So, but the fact that we could get this pick and place machine for something like 2,000 euros because it was kind of oldish, was like a big boost at the beginning. Yeah. So I think it's important to have these tools available. So basically, what you do, you get the stencils when you make the PCBs as well, and then you kind of manually put the paste on it. And
you can do that, yeah. You can get the stencil and put it over the board and kind of squeegee your solder paste over it, and then have the pick and place put all the parts on. I'm working on making the solder paste dispensing totally automatic. So I developed like a little paste extruder thing that goes on the head that it'll just put out all the little bits of paste all over the board where it's supposed to go.
That's super clever.
Yeah, hopefully it's been tricky getting paste extrusion to work reliably, especially with solder paste, which will kind of change viscosity as it warms up. So it's tough problem, but I think it's going to be a good solution. You can just feed a whole bunch of boards into it and it'll just crank through them. They'll just put all the paste on, put all the components on it and send it out to a reflow oven. That would be so cool. That's the dream. That's what I want to see happen.
Wow. So what's the smallest parts you can pick and place with this machine?
That's a great question. It probably depends on a few things. The resolution is pretty darn good, but it's also made mainly out of printed parts, so it's not going to be incredible. You're not doing like 0201s on this machine. It's probably like 0603. That was when I set out to do this project, I decided if I can't do it as 0603 or bigger, it's not worth my time. I need to be able to at least do a 603. And I have pretty good confidence it'll be able to do that, especially when there's a camera that's actually mounted on the head that faces down. It does take more time, but you can have it go over the feeder and look at the component before picking, manually align where the machine thinks the part is, and then go pick that up. And that helps a ton for positioning too. So I think 0603 is going to be what I'm really going to strive for.
Which is great. I have... for me, even 08, 05 was already good.
That's what I use, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do 0201s by hand. So
oof, wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the open source pick and place was my dream come true, because there was a number of years that I did all of that all by hand. And I could never get the like squeegee pasting thing down. So I do it by hand with like syringes, one pad at a time.
Wow. Yeah. 0201s. Electrical engineer at a place I used to work. I was soldering my first 1206 and I was like, wow, this is such a tiny part. And he's like, no, it's not. That thing is huge. You've never talk to me when you get below 0402 and then we'll chat about small components.
Nice. So do you now have like a little community around the project?
Yeah, I definitely do. There's a lot of people that are building them, which at first was super wild, seeing people like posting pictures on Twitter of my CAD that they were making it. And every time they would do that, I felt like I had to tweet them back and be like, just so you know, it's not done. You're going to run into bugs, Yeah. But yeah, there's a bunch of people that are building them right now. There's a Discord server where a lot of people are popping in and building them as well and talking about maybe you should try this and getting a whole bunch of awesome feedback from a lot of very intelligent people on how I should be doing things differently. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's so cool to have it open and have people be able to just go in and I can push up a design one night and the next day they'll be like, hey, you forgot this component that's going to be really necessary. And I just go in and change it the next day. It's pretty incredible.
I think it's an awesome thing for research labs too. So I'm definitely gonna try and have my colleagues and myself work on one of these over the summer and into the fall, so we can help prototype and test stuff. But yeah, because it's one of those pieces of equipment that like just I think naturally once you start making your own boards, that's the next step that you want to be able to do, especially for low quantities. And yeah, cheap pick and place machines just don't do it and there's no small like affordable pick and place out there. So this is awesome. Yeah. I'm hoping to create one. That's definitely the goal. Very cool. Yeah.
Now for me, if I had one of those milling machine from Bantam Tools.
Yes, I love those things.
Yeah, we use those for
They're great.
The other mill.
Yeah, they're excellent. Really, really nice machines.
Yeah, I have to expand my lab. In the office here, I only have like a 3D printer. And but have you thought about maybe is somebody starting to ask you if they can just buy the thing?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're thinking about making kits or if that's not something you're interested in.
I've had a lot of interest about kits. It's definitely not in a place now where I would feel comfortable asking for money in exchange what I would have to offer up. But what I am thinking about doing is working on designing some parts that are kind of tricky, that are smaller and kind of going into it. So there aren't like Arduino Mega and Ramp Shield, it works great for controlling this thing. There could be a board that has like webcam support in it too. So I was thinking about maybe making a motherboard that controls specifically for pick and places that has ports for vacuum sensors and like all the standard pinouts for the things you need for it. So I was thinking about doing some smaller things, like maybe just all the printed parts or a kit of, a flash drive with a print your own pick and place, on all the STLs are on the flash drive and all the aluminum you need. But I think I might start with boards, a lot of people also have their own pick and place builds, but they don't have feeders. So maybe it becomes that I start doing feeders and just a nice solution that integrates well with OpenPMP and anyone's their own build. So I'm not trying to create a standard on top of people that are already doing something that's cool and works well for them. And then maybe ramp it up from there. But yeah, I mean, I am totally open to the idea. When it eventually gets to that place, I would love to dive into that. I think it would be so much fun.
The mechanical part based on those kind of classic aluminum profiles, or you have like machined parts of?
They're just like standard V-slot aluminum extrusion. The company Open Builds made, they have a kit it's called the Acro 55, and it's a great XY gantry. It's like $350 US. And I bought that at first just for prototyping, just to like get a gantry. So I didn't have to worry about the gantry. I could just start playing around with picking and placing components, and it worked so well. It was easy to assemble. I put it together in just a couple hours. And I decided I wanted to go stick with that route. Really easy to make, not too expensive. You're not buying these really long linear rails. You just get the rollers and some extrusion and you're set to go. So yeah, it's based all around that.
Very nice. So there's a lot of activity in the chat. People are very excited about this, and there's a lot of interest. In fact, somebody says, "Oh, I was going to ask when the Kickstarter is happening," but I think it's a little bit not ready yet for the Kickstarter, but
soon. Yeah.
yeah. That's boom. Yeah. So. Thank you very much. This is amazing. So as I said, if people have more questions, they can leave them in the comments, and then we'll ask you to answer those questions when people watch it. Because obviously, most of the people watch this as a recording. They don't watch it live. Mm-hmm. And fantastic. If there are some other questions, I'm just going to check here, but it's mostly people kind of talking about the project and say how great it is, which is nice. So let's quickly bring back the other guest, because we are kind of getting to the end of the show. So we bring back the guests so they can say kind of hi to the audience. Luca, we added you. Let's see if Serena is still around. Serena is still around. Let's add Serena back. What we caught you while you were doing something. So.
I was drinking a beer.
You were drinking a beer.
Oh, right. I forgot. What is everybody drinking?
Water.
Have coffee.
Luca, where's your drink? You are muted, Luca. You are muted. Luca, you are muted.
Oh, I still have water because I now have dinner at like 7 p.m. because my daughter is 3. It's 3, so I can't drink too much.
Well, when she gets to be 5, you'll be drinking a lot more at this time.
I think
it's the only way to for dinner. So I don't know why you're not drinking.
Are you drinking recreationally or just to try to forget about the kids?
Just to
forget about IoT, obviously.
Okay. So next time you're on the show, Luca, we want your daughter to crash and be on the...
And that will happen anytime soon. So.
All right. So let's say goodnight to the audience. So let's start with Serena.
Okay, thank you very much. And you know what I usually say at the Arduino bar? Ciao, mamma.
Yes. Where is your mother? She's not writing.
So it's the way I usually end my speech in web streaming. Ciao, mamma.
But your mom normally writes a lot of comments in the chat. Why she's not?
Yeah, she's not so fluent yet in English, but soon she will do.
That had never stopped her. Luca, do you want to say goodnight to the audience?
Yes, same. And please try to do your own IoT project. That's really what make us all very proud of this project. So thank you. And ciao mama as well, obviously.
Always. Stephen, it's your turn.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was an absolute blast, and I feel pressured now, but ciao, mama. I gotta join.
Yeah, it's totally true. And yeah, so Benedetta,
Yeah.
let's say goodnight to the audience.
Yes. Good night,
Oh.
everybody. Yep.
We have to remind people that the
yes.
discount code is Somerville, Massachusetts, but it's just Somerville.
Yep.
So you can go to the online store and put that code, and it's a little discount. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of information in the description of this video, so all the links to all the different things. And so yeah, thank you very much to the guests for participating. It was great, and thank you, Benedetta, as usual.
Thank you.
What are the kids? And they not crash?
I know. I think they're upstairs for once. They I need to create an IoT system to when to come downstairs. Yeah, some lighting.
An alarm.
Maybe we'll do that in the next weekend STEM hangout.
Okay.
In the next 10 minutes, you would say.
Yeah, exactly. In 10 minutes, I can just have that. So I'm gonna go do that now.
Cool. So thank you very much to the guests, and thank you very much to the audience.
Thank you, Massimo.
Thank you.
You will find all the information in the comments, and please join us next Tuesday. It's we're actually getting to the end of this season, so.
Right.
See you next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Just as.